5 steps for entrepreneurs, startup founders to get the cybersecurity on point. Today we have Greg Taylor, which is a system security professional since 2001 and 30-year veteran of cybersecurity. In 2014, he co-founded cybersecurity training company CyberHoot to help small business and MSP learn cyber literacy. Tell us, what are the 5 steps for startups to get the cybersecurity on?
Welcome to Entrepreneurs Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas. Interviews with world's most influential entrepreneurs that share tips about how to grow your business exponentially. Charismatic speaking, leadership, branding, marketing strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.
Well, Harry, thank you for having me and for that wonderful introduction. When we talk about startups, we're not talking about a unique population of users in the cybersecurity sense. The advice I'm going to give you will apply certainly to startups, but it applies to SMBs, it applies to mid-market firms, it applies to individuals as well. Enterprises would be well advised to follow these steps. There are really 5 major areas that you need to focus on when you're building a business. And it all has to do with preventing bad guys or bad actors from breaking into your systems and stealing your data or extorting you for money. And it also has to do with business resilience to make sure that an everyday mistake on a data file that deletes it or corrupts it, or a database that needs to be restored, that you have your sensitive and critical data protected properly and available to recover from. So the 5 steps at a high level, I'll bullet point them and then we'll dive into the details of each. The first is to train your people on the cybersecurity threats they face. The second is password hygiene, including adoption of a password manager, passkeys, and multi-factor authentication. That's all number 2. The third is data. Know what data you have, where it exists, how it's protected, how it's backed up, those sorts of things. The fourth is incident response. Look, the time to build an incident response process or plan and have people identified to do certain parts is not during an incident. You want to have that figured out ahead of time, because you'll find a gap and you'll have to say, John or Susan, you need to do this job in an incident, and they have to agree. And then finally, number 5 is insurance. You have life insurance, you have car insurance, homeowners insurance. You need errors and omissions and cyber insurance for your startup. Okay, those are the 5 major areas. Would you like me to dive into each one in order, Harry?
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
And for your listeners, so let's talk with training your people. The cybersecurity industry has been on a Titanic-like trajectory since its beginning. It's steaming full steam ahead with fake emails being sent to the inboxes of users. Those users are maybe clicking or not clicking, and they're getting shamed and punished for mistakes. And the cyber education is broken. It's heading towards an iceberg, and companies are sinking every day because it's being done wrong. Okay? The tooling is wrong. Just like the Titanic had these baffles where they didn't have caps on the top, so when it hit an iceberg and the water filled up, it spilled over into the next area and the next area and the next area until it sank. Well, companies are sending bad training to their employees that teaches them the wrong skill set. It's teaching them a dumbed down domain name to watch out for a vendor email from, say, Microsoft, but it has accounts resets are us is the domain name of the sender. And that could not be a worse example for training purposes, because hackers don't do that. They'll take the M in Microsoft and register a domain name that has an R and then an N followed by Microsoft. So it looks at a quick glance like Microsoft.com, but it's domain name different, and it's what we call typo squatting. We need to teach people how phishing works properly in order to feed them for a lifetime of secure, confident, efficient email processing. And so that's one avenue of training you have to cover. And psychology would say use positive reinforcement, gamification, small rewards for doing your assignments in order to teach people that A, they can do it. It's actually not that hard when you look at the actual knowledge you need to gain. It's not rocket science. This is common sense plus a little bit of knowledge. You need to get the participation levels up, which you do by rewarding employees for engaging with it, by keeping training short, not 35-minute videos that are 10 years old, current, interesting, short videos. What I like to call high intensity interval training. Just like a workout at the gym, you can do it in 5 minutes and still get a big effect, or you could do a 1 hour, 2 hour training session and you get the same effect. People are done with 2 hour trainings. They don't want to do that once a year. It doesn't work. It doesn't create habits. So you have to repeat this stuff over and over again. So train your people on phishing, password hygiene, and a bunch of other tooling around USB stick security, social engineering, physical security, incident response. If you see something, say something. There's a variety of topics, all of that. And I don't know if I'm allowed to, Harry, put a plug in for my company, but we teach these things as well.
So what how's it done?
Yeah, so CyberHoot was designed from a multidisciplinary approach to handle the training needs of any company, from an enterprise to an individual. We give it away free for individuals at cyberhoot.com/individuals. You can sign up for a lifetime subscription, you get a training each month, and you stay on top of the emerging threats, as well as our patent pending phishing exercise that teaches you how phishing really works with typo squatted domain names. It's done in the browser. No one fails. It's a positive reinforcement approach. So it gets all the negativity that this Titanic of cybersecurity has been heading towards icebergs for 25 years, shaming and punishing employees for failing when they click on phishing links. And it moves it to a positive reinforcement approach, which the industry sorely needs to improve engagement, to improve outcomes, to internalize within your employees the knowledge they need to be successful personally and professionally. Now, the second area, if we move on from training, is password hygiene. The reason I harp on password hygiene as the second step for a startup is because it's the second leading cause of breaches in small to medium-sized companies out there. Poor password hygiene is reusing passwords everywhere you go. If you don't adopt a password manager in your own life, then I promise you, in the world we live in today with 400 or 500 different accounts, you're reusing 5 to 10 account passwords everywhere you go. And I'll also promise you that I could look in my database and in the dark web for your favorite password and tell you what it is, because it's been breached on multiple websites out on the internet that didn't hash the password. And what that means is, as a hacker, they can see your favorite password, one of your 5 or 6 favorite passwords. So when you go to log into your email, they could probably try that and succeed. Or when you log on your VPN, or when you log into any of these SaaS platforms, you're reusing that password. A hacker can see it on the dark web. They can try it if they target you as an individual. So password hygiene is enormously important because it's the second leading cause of breaches in this world after phishing emails.
So what is a password manager? What is that?
What is a password manager? Great question, Harry. A password manager is simply this. It's a database that is encrypted, and inside your database are all your passwords tied to different accounts. It's usually URL based. So if you're going to salesforce.com or google.com to log into your email or to your CRM, it says, I see that you're on a website that says salesforce.com. Let me check my database. Yes, I have a username, Harry Sardinas, at salesforce.com. Here's the password. And it pulls it and sticks it into the website to log you in, if you've unlocked it. Now, how you unlock it is, one, long and strong master password, possibly tied to MFA, like a text message to your phone or a QR code that you've scanned that gives you a one-time code every 60 seconds. It changes. So when you log into your password manager, you're essentially proving you are Harry Sardinas, I am Craig Taylor, and my password manager has absolute certainty I am the person I say I am because of the big long password and the multi-factor authentication. Then it decrypts this database of accounts. Now, if you make a mistake, Harry, and you say you go to salesforces.com with an S on the end because you clicked on a link someone sent you in an email, you thought it was Salesforce, but it wasn't. It brought you to Salesforces with an S.com. The password manager is going to go, I don't know where you are. I've checked my database. I don't have anything for this site. Now, if you knew your password, wouldn't you just type it in because it looks like Salesforce, it smells like Salesforce, it feels like Salesforce, but it isn't Salesforce? Your password manager can save you from that mistake when you make a mistake clicking on a link you shouldn't, sometimes. And so it has many benefits. It creates unique passwords everywhere you go. So if one of your websites is breached that you had an account on, that password is revealed. It's no good anywhere else because your password manager will remind you as you get using it over time, hey, this account has the same password as that account. Change one of them, and it will point you out for that. It'll also, in the modern, post-password world we're moving towards, grabs your pass keys and saves it into your account, into your password manager. So when you go to Google or Microsoft or any website today that has passkeys support, your password manager is going to manage that for you. And if you have the right one, it can synchronize between your home device, your work device, so that you can have it on your home computer or your work computer. You still get in the same as before, even though that passkey is synchronized between the two devices. The beautiful part of a passkey, though, Harry, is it can't be stolen and reused. It's tied to your equipment, your hardware, your identity, so that if it is breached, the website's breached, they steal the part of it, it's only the website's component of the key. Your other component in public and private key encryption prevents that from being reusable anywhere else. So it's the future of identity management is passkeys, but we're slowly getting there. It's not perfect today. People are just adopting it. I always highly recommend learning and leveraging that. So that's number one, phishing. Number one way companies are breached. Teach and train your users not only on phishing, but password hygiene and all the other cybersecurity topics a vendor would present to you. Password hygiene is second. Third is your data. So you have a business. What kind of data do you collect? If you're in healthcare, you might have health records. That means you have HIPAA compliance obligations. Knowing that you have HIPAA data, you need to have HIPAA compliance. You need to meet those standards and requirements of not only HIPAA, but all the High-Tech Act and the protection of that data from disclosure, whether it's bad people or even your own employees, right? There was a case not too long ago of a hospital where Michael Jordan went to get checked out for something. And he was witnessed by nurses in the hallway entering the hospital. A nurse looked up his record, health record, because everybody pretty much has access to help support the clients that come in the door. She wasn't on his case. She wasn't assigned to Michael Jordan. They later found out that she had done this and she was terminated for cause, no chance of appeal, because she did not have a business justified reason for looking at his health record. So it's controlling your data, knowing what kind of data you have, backing it up, encrypting it at rest and in motion, labeling it appropriately. Is it general data that you could publish to the internet or on a website or in an email? Is it sensitive data that is unique to your business? Salaries, employee hierarchies, some intellectual property maybe, but probably not. That would be critical. And the third category is critical. Labeling your data by those things and then telling your employees, remember the training part? Train your employees that you can't send sensitive or critical data in an email to someone. You can't forward it to your home email to work on it at home. It has to stay in the protected confines of your domain and your email account at work. It needs to be shredded when it's printed out. It needs to be locked up if you're using it in a project. So data, backing it up, having prescriptions on the treatment of it. Here's another one that I've seen many breaches in the last 2 years have been made so much worse because companies didn't have a retention policy. They kept everything forever. So imagine a law firm gets breached and they have 25 years of case files on the server. Now they have to notify 25 years of customers that we lost your data. It possibly is on the dark web. I'm so sorry. Here's your identity theft monitoring. Now, what if you had a retention policy that says we keep 5 years of data online and we keep another 5 years of data on a archived copy and we delete anything older than that? That might be a viable strategy. In the breach scenario, guess what? You have 5 years of clients to contact, not 25 years. It's 5 times worse when there's no retention policy. So data retention is something that is often forgotten. And maybe in a startup, you don't have a long history of data, but at some point in years 3, 4, 5, you're going to have to start to purge data or archive data off into these areas. Is this the right level of specificity you're looking for, Harry?
Yes, 100%.
Okay,
I'm
good.
very, very proud to keep going because
Okay. All right. So train, password hygiene, know your data. The next is an incident response plan, or what happens when a bad thing happens? How do we respond when something wrong goes wrong, right? And it's called an incident response policy or process. And it identifies an incident handler. It identifies who talks to the media if there's an issue that comes up that they get aware of. It has instructions for your IT team or your MSP, your managed service provider, to not destroy evidence in the process of fixing the incident, because you might need forensics to say, did they exfiltrate data? The number one thing hackers do today when they break into your network is exfiltrate the data. They want a copy of that data. They don't know what it is, but they're going to look at it in the future and they'll know if they have something good or not then. But let's get in here and let's get the data out. The second thing they do when they break in is they find your backups and they delete them or break them, right? Corrupt them. So you can't recover your data, and then they may or may not encrypt it. Many ransomware events for the last 15 years, they always encrypt your data. In my last 2 incidents that I've been a part of, they didn't encrypt the data. They just exfiltrated it. And then they left a message saying, we have your data. If you don't want us to release it in embarrassing websites all over the world, you got to pay us a ransom. And so that incident response process that identifies owners of these different parts of the incident, one of the very first steps in an incident response policy goes to the last point of your insurance. If you have insurance, you can't begin your incident response until you notify the insurance agency that we've had an incident, we think it's a breach, we don't have confirmation yet, how should we proceed? Because your cyber insurance company will say, uh-oh, I have a red phone. Just a moment, let me pick up the red phone. Hey, I have a breach, you need to go talk to them. And then they dictate who you use oftentimes to respond to that incident. It might be provider, might not be your IT team. It might be the insurance provider's emergency response team that can bring in forensics, and they can assess the damage and what data was exfiltrated if you've got logging set up properly. So an incident response process, it's often a requirement of cyber insurance that you can respond to an incident and you have a documented procedure to follow. It's table stakes at CyberHoot. We have a template in our platform. Anybody can download and look at the containment, eradication, recovery, revision, and all the goals and objectives of each stage, as well as identification in the beginning. The last of 5 is cyber insurance. And I don't think it's just cyber insurance. You need errors and omission insurance as well. As a business, you might be providing some widget or some service. And if you don't get it perfect, the widget has a flaw or the service broke in some way through a mistake of one of your employees, errors and omissions will protect you and provide you legal representation for those mistakes. Cyber insurance is when someone else in the world breaks into your company, exfiltrates data, and holds you for ransom. Now, make sure you look at the small print, the fine print, because not all cyber insurance is the same. Get an expert to look over your cyber insurance and the carve-outs to make sure you have coverage for wire fraud, which is different from ransomware coverage, which is different from denial of service attacks or whatever the case may be. Wire fraud is probably one of the largest underreported breaches in the world today. I looked at the FBI statistics a few years ago and it said worldwide we had X billion dollars of wire fraud. And I looked at the number and I said, you know what? This is like the tip of the iceberg that the FBI is reporting. It's based on self-reported breaches where a wire was sent to hackers, not to the right person. But I have also done probably 5 to 10 incidents where wire money was wired to a bad guy, to the wrong person, never recovered, and never reported. I always say report to the FBI, let them know what's going on. But many businesses don't want to do that. And so the number is probably 10 to 100 times more than what you see on the FBI.gov fraud and abuse report on an annual basis. It's a huge problem. And so cyber insurance might have coverage for that. It might not. You know, deep fakes is happening now where the CEO is called by the CFO. I'm sorry, the other way around. The CEO is calling the CFO saying, remember that project with that vendor? They need to be paid today, now. Here's the instructions. Here's the account numbers. Wire the money by 5 today, or else we lose the discount. And the CFO says, well, I'm talking to the CEO. It's his voice. It's her voice. It's her mannerisms, but it's a deep fake. They recorded the CEO from a TED Talk or from a social media post, and then they faked that person in an AI model in real time where it can answer questions and it can behave just like the CEO behaves. So in that scenario, my biggest tip, this is a bonus tip, have a financial safe word that you establish between CFO, CEO, CTO. All your C-suite should know that financial safe word. And when anyone wants to do a big transaction, a financial transaction, you say, okay, let me call you right back, or I can give you the safe word. And make that safe word, you know, something really offbeat, like Acapulco or something like that. That way, the hackers won't know what it is. And don't use that one because I've just said it on a podcast. But it's another way to prevent fraud and abuse when you're in a deepfake scenario, which is just now becoming more common than before. So
I'm
those
glad that
five.
you break this. I'm glad that you brought this up because this is my next question. Now with the big use of AI, cybersecurity, cybersecurity have been challenged because now it's become even more easier to do this kind of breach, and now we're gonna be facing this type of breach that you shared that it was no easy to do before, of course, and now anybody do it. So there is multiple. I was speaking with my friend last weekend that specializes in cybersecurity, and he was telling me that the demand for cybersecurity have increased because now with the use of AI, they need more protection because now there are even new ways of breaking into the system like before, and it's available for more people. You don't need to be even a professional hacker to create an agent that can replicate the CEO voice. I can do that with my team. You know what I mean? So now you don't have to be a professional hacker to create danger. So can you tell us a little bit more what the steps needs to be taken?
Sure. So with AI, everything just gets faster and more proficient, more professional. In the old days of phishing emails, Harry, we used to say, watch out for spelling, grammar, and language mistakes. Those have largely gone away because AI can translate into whatever language the hacker is targeting in perfect grammatical correctness. So we've lost one of the indicators. Now, it doesn't mean there other indicators don't remain, like the broken domain, the typo squatted domain name where one letter is wrong. It doesn't mean that there isn't urgency and emotionality to get you to react to the email without thinking. But AI can do this at scale. and it can digest all of our social media profiles. So what does that mean? Your entire public persona, you can point AI at it and say, help me as a cybersecurity researcher identify the 5 or 10 different weak points this individual might have for clicking on an email topic. And it will search your social media to look at your pastimes, your favorite foods, your favorite travel destinations, your favorite vendors, whatever it might be. And then it will create 10 perfect phishing emails that could be specific to your life. And if it doesn't get you to click on the first, it'll send a second, and then the third, and then the fourth. And each time it's something that pertains to your preferences and your life. And it's sent in a way that is meant not to trigger your warning system, right? And so AI is making that much more professional and can scale to many, many more targets than ever before. And that's only what I'm talking now about is the phishing avenue of AI. Deepfakes is another one where it can pretend to impersonate a voice. I had a family member who got a call from their grandson saying he'd had an accident, he was in jail, he needed a couple $1,000s to get out of jail or he would be there all weekend. And the grandmother got the phone call. She said it sounded like the grandson. It was the grandson. And so she wanted to be taken to the bank. She called one of her other boys' children. And fortunately, they had been through some of my training and they learned, let's call the grandson right now just to see. No, he doesn't have his phone. Well, let's call him just to see. And he answered, the grandson answered, hi, Grandma. What do you mean? I thought you were in jail. No, I'm right here. I'm at home on my couch. Oh my gosh, I just got a phone call from you saying you were in jail and you needed $2,000. And thank God she, talked to one of her other children. So deepfakes are happening. But here's another development just this week, Harry, that is probably more stressful for me as a cybersecurity professional. One of the big vendors in the AI space is Claude, Anthropic. And they have a product called Claude that maybe you use sometimes to ask some AI questions of.
I'm aware.
You're aware. So there's many different LLMs that Anthropic has released. One is called Claude Code. You can write code with it, and it's pretty good. There's some people that estimate today 5% of the code being written in the world is done through AI, but that could grow over the next 2 to 3 years to as much as 90% of the code being produced in the world by an AI instead of a human. Now, humans have to check it, validate it, check it in and confirm it. But that's a big development there. But what was really noteworthy this past week is that Anthropic had a vulnerability scanning tool that they thought was really good. The old version was called, Opus 4.6. And when they pointed Opus 4.6 at a bunch of software packages, it found a handful of zero-day bugs, 2 or 3 or 4 out of 100 scanned. And they thought that was pretty good because no human had ever found that before. And one would argue, yeah, that's pretty good. Well, they have a product now called Mythos, and they pointed it at the same platform, say 100 different platforms. It broke into every last one of them. It found a 0-day, a vulnerability exploit, and escalation of privileges. Even in BSD from 27 years ago, it found a 0-day that it could exploit in the world's safest operating system, arguably. BSD's whole hallmark is that it's the most secure operating system, and it's been scanned and validated and pen tested the most. Cloud Code looked at it, said, here's one. And it was unbelievable. It found it in every browser, in every operating system, in everything it looked at. And so Anthropic did a very noble thing, and they closed the box, Pandora's box down. They said, we're not going to release this to the world. It's too dangerous. And they formed a coalition with 40 or 50 different vendors of the world, the biggest vendors like Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, Palo Alto, and a bunch of others. And they said, hey, let's do this in a rational way. Let's use Mythos, Claude's Mythos preview, to scan your bases of software, Claude will also present, Mythos will also present the fixes that fix the vulnerabilities that it's finding, because it found it in every single platform again. And then you'll have time to respond and you'll be able to close your holes and you can push out these fixes over time before the world gets this application. There's just one small problem with that. Can you imagine what it is, Harry? Uh, Only 40 to 50 vendors were in Glasswing. There are a
Oh
million
wow.
vendors out there that have software products that are online and SaaS applications. A million, if not 100 million. So they won't have access to Mythos until the bad actors maybe do. And it'll be a free for all potentially with breaches, unless they can roll it out even to another, like have a phase two where you can prove your identity and you own this code base, then you can have a preview access to Claude Mythos. I don't know. It's still to be written. That's the future history that needs to be written. But it's a very sobering moment where you realize humanity has crossed a barrier where AI is better at pen testing now than any human ever was. It just is automatic, scalable, and it's much better at finding three or four little bugs that when you combine them in this order leads to a big bug, like a breach, a remote access thing. That's something humans haven't been as good at doing. That's a huge development, and I'm a little nervous about it, but I think sane, rational minds will prevail and we'll figure out a path forward to mitigate the risk the best we can. But there's a short time window to do this because there are 5 or 6 other vendors trying to catch up to Claude Mythos, right? And they're not far behind. OpenAI might have a version that comes out soon. Uh, if you believe what Stephen Hawking and George Hinton or Jeffrey Hinton, the father of AI, and a lot of other prescient people who looked at AI and they said, my goodness, this should be treated no differently than nuclear weapon technology. It could be that dangerous. We don't know how. Well, this week we learned how one way is through pen testing. In the hands of the Iranians or the North Koreans, Claude Mythos would lead to utter chaos all over the world because the banking system would collapse with breaches and money transfers and things that were problematic. In fact, this past weekend, today is Tuesday, the banking community was asked by the SEC to get together and talk about what you're going to do about Mythos as a group. And they were brought into the coalition to say, we need a very important response to this capability that has come up. And they were meeting over the weekend and so on. But again, that's just the biggest companies of the world, the top 50. It's nowhere near everyone that needs it and could be impacted by it. So that's a big development that is coming in the near term future.
Like you said, there's other vendors that are trying to go to that space. So when they run the checks, they will find also the breaches. And like you said, some of them could be closer than the other one. So it's again easy to find them like before. And if you find it, then easy to break it, right? Because you already know
Yes.
how to. So like I described before, there are based on all these uh, like I said, the demands of the cybersecurity that every time that I talk about this or that I mention this, people look at me like I'm speaking Chinese. You know, that
Yeah.
what is that? Why I need that? Do I need that? I think that, and I always said that the big tech, the thing that they can sleep good at night, but they cannot sleep good at night just because of the cybersecurity. It's something that keep them awake and they have to be on top of the 24/7, exactly what you described. And now AI is bringing more challenges that they have to work with it. So,
Yes.
what are your message to the consumer and to the entrepreneur, to the small business? Like, for example, do you think that the AI, someone with not so much knowledge, could be able to use an AI, break into your bank account and take out money?
Yeah,
Or it's
there are,
not that clear?
well, I think with a little bit of practice, just about anyone can run an AI tool with a prompt and learn prompting to do both offensive and defensive security. And so in my blog article about this Mythos preview from Anthropic, I said, you have to do 6 things. Some of the startup messages that I gave you about training users, that still applies. Multi-factor still applies, as does password hygiene and passkey adoption and that sort of thing. Knowing where your data is, that still applies. Having an incident response becomes more important in the world we're living in. Cyber insurance, nothing changes there. The only new thing you need to now be thinking about is how do I find an AI tool to scan my own code for vulnerabilities? Something maybe not equivalent to Mythos because it's not available to me yet, but similar type products, maybe the Opus 4.6 version of things, to see is there anything obviously wrong in my software application? And then be on the lookout for when some of these tools become GA'd, right? General availability from other vendors, whether it's Grok and Elon Musk's tool, or Meta is coming out with tools, or OpenAI might have a tool very shortly. There's going to be competition out there for finding and identifying and fixing vulnerabilities. You're going to have to build that into your software development lifecycle. If you're a software shop, you're going to have to hold your software vendors accountable if you're dependent on them to do these things. And one more thing, patching has to be shrunk. The patch windows, when I started in this industry 25 years ago, patching was looked at as an annual thing or even a quarterly thing. About 10 years ago, it shrunk down to monthly, and it's been a monthly thing. With the latest development of Mythos and the vulnerabilities that come out, it may be the case that vendors just have to push out fixes in real time. When they hear of a problem, they fix a problem, they push it out immediately, and it auto patches itself. There
What the
may
main
be,
patches? What the main patches?
what
Patch.
do I mean by
What?
patches?
Yes.
So when you're running a piece of software, it has a version. Let's say it's 1.1. A vendor will come and do some development to release new features, and they might call it 1.2. That's not a patch. That's a feature release. But when the vendor says, oh my God, we broke something in 1.2 that worked before, or a hacker found a bug in the code and responsibly disclosed it to the vendor, they release a hotfix or a patch that doesn't change the version so much as it just says, okay, you're going to run 1.1 and then .2. Minor releases could include bug fixes that prevent problems from happening. So it's an in real time, or it's the release of small updates that don't provide new features. They actually just remove bugs and vulnerabilities.
Hey, if somebody's in love with this conversation, how people can find you, how this process works?
Well, you want to email sales@cyberhoot.com for a demo of our platform that uses the positive reinforcement of psychology and educational best practices to get people to do their training and to internalize it. It's a new way of thinking about cyber literacy training. Instead of punishing people for the things they shouldn't do, reward them for doing the things they should do. It's similar to parenting and dog training and any other industry you look at. They reinforce good behaviors. That's what we do. That's our call to action. We make it fun. You notice the above my head, it says laugh, learn, and hoot up. That creates fun and excitement and gamification. The best analogy, Harry, is this. I hate working out. I don't like go to the gym and work out because it's work. But I love playing sports and playing hockey, and it's a workout, but it's playing it. So I don't really feel like I'm working. It's more of a game. And that's how we have to treat cybersecurity education. Make it fun in a game so that people don't know it's helping their work. It helps them personally as well, personally and professionally. That's us in a nutshell. So go to cyberhoot.com. If you're an individual, you want free lifetime training, go to individuals. If you want to sign up for a quick demo, we give a free 30-day trial to anyone that signs up. And if we use your podcast, Harry Sardinas, as the referral code, we'll give you 20% off for a whole year for your subscription fees if you're signing up your company or your business or your startup.
Thank you so much, Craig, for the offer to our audience. I really appreciate it.
You're most
And
welcome.
for all of you following the podcast, see you in our next episode of Entrepreneurs Leader, how brave entrepreneurs like Craig break the world, make businesses that make the world a better place. Bye for now.
Bye.
Follow us for more on charismatic speaking, leadership, exponential business growth, branding, marketing, strategies designed to help you monetize your knowledge, find true happiness, and manifest your goals and dreams.